One of the better seasons we've seen the New York Knicks have in a very long time. And finally, Leon Rose actually knows what he's doing. We finally have a president in New York. And the Knicks for years should have gone back in the 90s. When Pat Riley wanted to take over for the Knicks, they should have given him the reins. And maybe the Knicks would be the Miami Heat, not jumping from coach to coach every 3 years. Maybe they would still have a coach like Miami has for over 10 years. But there are stories coming out from the organization that if the Knicks make a trade for a star this offseason, Mitchell Robinson could be on his way out. I think Mitch had a very good playoff series against the Cavaliers. He did get hurt the final 2 games of the series. He went into the Miami series. You saw him grabbing his hip, grabbing his ankle. He was not 100% healthy. But Mitch is never 100% healthy. We can make excuses for all the Knicks. Julius Randle, he had ankle problems all season long. Is there an excuse for him on the way he played in the playoffs again? No. RJ Barrett had a very good playoff series against Miami, besides giving up the ball 60 times. There were too many mistakes from this team. Emmanuel Quickley, before he got hurt in this series, was making too many mistakes. Obi Toppin air-mailing the ball 7-8 times in this series. Tom Thibodeau getting outcoached in Miami 3 times. Jalen Brunson was the only bright spot to this team throughout the playoffs, throughout the season. He is every reason why there will be players this offseason interested in coming to New York and playing with them. I just can't fathom making any excuses for this New York Knicks team. And I don't care who they trade. Trade off the whole damn team but Jalen Brunson. Tom Thibodeau needs to go. It doesn't seem like he's going to go. They're going to bring him back for another year. This is Leon Rose's big mistake here. This could cost Leon Rose his job next year. There are a ton of good coaches available right now. Budenholzer was fired by Milwaukee, won a championship a couple of years ago. This guy is one of the best defensive minds in the NBA. Nick Nurse from Toronto, who won a championship with Kawhi Leonard. That team had no business beating the Golden State Warriors in the finals. There's no excuse that the Knicks shouldn't fire Tom Thibodeau. This team is right there. They have young pieces. They have a ton of draft stock. In the next 7 years, the Knicks have 11 first-round draft picks. This team is going in a very good direction. But we don't want this direction to fall off track, which we've seen whenever they bring in a superstar to play with some of these young players. The San Antonio Spurs win the NBA lottery. I am not surprised because it seems like whenever this team is falling off, somehow they get the number 1 pick. In 1997, they had the 13th best chance to win the lottery. And they won the lottery and won Tim Duncan, arguably the greatest power forward of all time. 1987, the Admiral. The year before, they were absolutely horrendous. They had the 6th best chance to get the number 1 pick, and they get the number 1 pick. And now, arguably, the best prospect in NBA history, Speedy,
Victor Wembanyama.
The San Antonio Spurs are going to land this kid who everybody predicts to be the next LeBron James, the next superstar, the next guy that everybody is going to want to play with. French-born, unbelievable talent. 7'3", can shoot the 3. One of the best perimeter shooters we've ever seen at his size. Free throw shooter at 80%. The guy can get into the paint at will. He can actually play the point guard position too, because he can ball handle just as good as any point guard in the league. Charlotte gets the number 2 pick, and this was lottery protected. Now, if Charlotte fell out of the top 10, guess who would be holding their pick? The Knicks. And this is where I get disgusted. If you're going to trade away a pick during a draft or trading for a player, they should not be lottery protected. That's not fair to a team like the Knicks. The Knicks gave up their first-round draft pick last year to Charlotte. Charlotte gave the Knicks their pick, but it was protected for this year if it's in the top 10. How does that make sense? Same thing with Detroit. If Detroit fell in the top 10, guess who would be holding their pick this year? The Knicks. Dallas, who choked the last 2 weeks of the season. They absolutely tanked, and they got fined because Mark Cuban wanted this number 1 pick. And what happens? They get the number 10th pick. And if they fell out of the top 10, guess who would be getting their pick? The New York Knicks. 3 times in the same draft, the Knicks do not land a pick. They gave up their first-round rights this year because they traded for Hart. And this is why the NBA needs to clean this up. If you're trading away a pick the year before and giving that team your first-round pick the next year, then it shouldn't be lottery protected. Because that team sucks the year after, the Knicks lose out on a top 10 pick? How does that make sense?